just to kind of tell a little bit of my story of like why I went into the military, because that heavily influenced who I am and kind of uh, my morals and things like that. When I was a kid, I was 10th grade. I went up and I had a cousin who was a oral surgeon at West Point. He was the head dental oral surgeon at West Point. Full-bird colonel, which is for people that don't know the ranks. That's one rank below general. And he lived at West Point and was just, the head dentist there. And my family was like, hey, we're going to go up and visit Jack. And so, I'm a young kid, just highly, influenced by whatever you see. Have no idea what it is I want to do. I was good at that point in my life. I was good at math. Really couldn't stand writing and language and all that kind of stuff. And so I went up there. We visited him and his family, and I got taken around to see the academy, and just really liked the discipline. And I really liked that it was an engineering and math school, and was up for a challenge. Like that was really kind of where I was at that point in my life. Was just like, hey, this looks like a real challenge. It looks really difficult. It was really difficult to get into, so I wasn't so sure whether, it was even a possibility of whether I could do it. But long story short, it had a huge impact on me at this point in my life where I was just starting my 10th grade year, and really motivated me to want to go do that. And if I didn't get in the West Point, I was looking at some of the other service academies like the Air Force Academy, and
Sure.
just really kind of liked that, the rigor. I liked the morals, and like everybody's room is unlocked and you can trust all the other people. There was like an honor code associated with it. And it was just, it really kind of harmonized with who I was as a person, or like at least what I thought I was as a person at that point in my life. And so like that's a little bit more on what I was attracted to at that age. And I knew I wanted to do engineering, and this was like one of the top 5 engineering schools in the country. And so it was just kind of a fit for me. And I knew it was going to be hard, but I was a little bit attracted to that. I wanted something that was really challenging at that point. And I really wanted to fly. I think when we were up there, they had like a helicopter display. We were up there for a football game, the weekend of a football game, and they had like all these different displays. And I was just looking at it like, oh my God, this would be amazing. I could go here and then I could be a pilot afterwards. And like, that would just be awesome. And that's what I did. And so that had a big influence on who I became, and kind of like my moral construct. Because you learn, like when you go through the service academy, that your ability to tell the truth, your ability to work together as a team and with other people is really kind of the essence of like being successful in the military. It's really kind of comes down to you got to trust your buddy to your left and your right, and if you can't act morally, responsibly, and always with truth at the forefront of your actions, then that you can't work together in harmony as a team if those aren't at the root. And so that's really bred into the culture at service academies. Is if you lie, I mean, it's so serious that if you would lie with something, I'll give you an example. If you had a Coke in your Pepsi or a Coke on your dresser, and somebody came in and drank it, and like you could prove somehow that person drank the Coke, and you asked the person afterwards, like, did you drink that Coke or Pepsi? And they said no, like, and they just blatantly lied about it. You could literally be thrown out of the school for that.
Wow.
That's how serious it is.
Zero tolerance.
Like literally zero tolerance, and it doesn't even matter how small the act is. There's just no tolerance for it whatsoever, let alone like cheating on a test or anything like that.
Right.
I saw many people that were thrown out of the school for honor. And so it's very serious. It's something that this I can't even tell you how many classes, how this is like drilled into your head throughout your 4 years, is that there's no tolerance for liars, cheaters, and people that take advantage of others. And so like that is, I didn't have an appreciation for how important and how powerful this was when I was going through the school. It was more like you were fearful of it. Like the consequences were so like huge, of like, oh my God, I went through 3 years of this and I got thrown out for honors. Like when I was going through it, I was more fearful of it than understanding why it was so important. But 2 decades later, it's very obvious to me why this is so vital to the school, and like what it represents, and why it's important to people to live a successful life afterwards. And if I was going to try to explain it in a way that is easy, or just maybe a different way to describe it, when you lie, or when you do things that are unethical, and I would describe unethical as when you're stealing somebody else's energy, and you're doing it in a way that's manipulative, that the other person doesn't know you're stealing their energy. When you do that, what you're doing is you're actually introducing volatility into not only their life, but also your life. Because I think what you do is you're setting this reciprocal laws of motion into the universe's ether, and it's going to find a way to come back and manifest itself into your life. And the thing that makes it really hard for people to wrap their head around, why a lot of people don't believe that, is because I think it manifests itself back into your life at the point that's most optimal for the universe, which means it could be 5 years later, it could be 10 seconds later, or it could be 30 years later. And I think the longer the lag is that it does come back to you, I think there's some sort of like interest on it. Meaning if it comes back to you 30 years later, it's coming back with a whole lot more magnitude than what you inserted into it 30 years previously. And so people would hear this and be like, oh, that's a lot like karma. And it is.
Yeah.
And, this isn't something that like I learned at the school. This is something that I've kind of, I guess it's my framework for how I view the world. And I just think that if I went to you and I told you I was going to help you out with something, but my intention, and this is what is taught when you're talking about honor violations at these schools, is they say, what was the intention of the person? Was the intention of the person to go in there and drink the Coke because they didn't want to pay for one? Okay, because that's just a pure parasitic activity. Very small in value, but that's stealing somebody else's energy that's in the form of this Coke that they're drinking. And by the way, I don't drink Coke or Pepsi. I drink water. But
I'm glad that you clarified that
for the health people out there. But let's say my intention was I was trying to have fun with you by screwing with your head, by drinking a little bit of the Coke because you were trying to figure out who it was, right? And my intention was actually to have fun because we're friends, okay? There are two acts, okay, that one might try to argue are the same thing, but I would argue they're very, very different.
Yeah.
And they're very different because of the intention of the person, of like, why were they doing it? Were they actually trying to claw energy away, or were they actually trying to have fun? And later on, they're going to say, "Oh yeah, that was me. I was screwing with you. I was just trying to have fun." And by the way,
here's a Coke. By the way, yeah.
I got your Coke back, right? Like if that was truly the intention, it's interesting because I think when we pull on this thread of morals. And we pull on the thread of reciprocity and karma, I think that inside of all of that is this idea of intentions that are wrapped inside of it. So if your intention is to actually steal, like look at all these shit coins, okay? Mm-hmm. Look at the people that are behind these shit coins. look at the intentions of the people behind these shitcoins. And their intentions, they really think they're clever, and they really think that they can just
smooth.
take millions of dollars of buying power, and that the universe isn't going to find a way to totally destroy them in their future. Right? And sometimes it plays out fast, and sometimes it's going to play out much longer. And so I look at guys like Ben, what's the
BitBoy?
BitBoy.
Yeah.
Like when I see a guy like this and I can see he's just straight parasitic, my actions on Twitter is I want to block this guy so insanely fast so that there's no way that I can pull him into my gravitational pull of my circle or my inner circle, because he is the definition of parasitic activity, right? Now, what I find interesting is other parasites, people that harmonize with those types of activities, are attracted to him. They get pulled in almost like it's a gravitational energy force that's sucking them to a guy like that, so that they can enjoy this energy sucked together. And what it is it's a life of pain, right? This introduction of volatility and parasites that get attracted to each other. It's a life of pain. It's a life of a person choosing to experience the pain instead of experience growth through other people's hardships or great performance. Like, you can learn through others or you can learn through pain, and it's like, well, this is the way you want to go. So some of those things are what shaped me very early on. I know that was a really long response, but
I liked it.
but these are really core ideas to who I am and what I believe in and why I make the decisions in the manner that I make them. I would tell you, this is at my core of like who I am and how I think about people and how I think about their decision making and whether I decide to associate with them or not. I can be very picky with people that I associate with.
I consider myself even luckier after hearing that, to have the pleasure of associating with you.